The plane just reached. What? The 737?
It what?
Like the World Trade. Who are you talking to? Oh, God.
Jules, this is Ryan. Listen, on an airplane that's been hijacked, and things will go well. I'm looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to be good. So happy to find. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later, Jessica. Bye, babe.
Sean, it's me. I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and he just wanted you to know that I love you. What's going on next home? Our number one's been stabbed, and our five has been stabbed. I'm on the 85th. No. Say you're gonna die. Ma'am, say your prayers. We're gonna take positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor. Now.
We're sorry, the number you have reached is not in service. Please check the number or try your call again.
What do you know or remember about 9/11, and how has it impacted you?
So I remember the morning that it happened. I had actually gotten up, showered, breakfast and so on. And before I went to work, turned on the news, and that's when I saw it. And at first I didn't know what was happening. I thought maybe it was a TV show that I hadn't seen before that was on. And then as I'm watching it and I'm realizing that something was happening, and then I had to leave. I had to go to work, and I turned on my radio, and that's all they were talking about. And so I was just kind of getting bits and pieces.
Okay, well, 9/11 was the biggest terrorist attack in the U.S. and I remember quite a bit about it because I had a cousin that was working in the towers when it collapsed, and he didn't make it out, and it affected my family and my life quite a bit.
And the thing that I'll never, ever forget is seeing a person's body sailing towards the ground from one of the buildings. We couldn't figure out if that was real or not. And when we realized it was real, I think I was filled with a lot of terror, because where that was happening, I have in-laws who live in that area. My mother-in-law worked in the Bell Atlantic office, very close to that. And at the time, my youngest daughter was in the area.
We watched it unfold on the news, and it was terrifying. And I remember my mom calling me and being worried about, like, the men in my family getting conscripted for military service, and just being worried that this was going to become like a huge world war, basically.
But I think being in Indiana, being that we were further away from where everything was happening, also added kind of this safety net around the campus and the students too, versus I think if someone were here in Connecticut or in New York, then they certainly felt those shockwaves much more intimately, and there was probably more fear and anxiety here.
I can't say it's really affected my life because I was out of the military at the time. It's changed the way I look at some of the government things that have gone on.
So, I mean, for people like my age, our generation, that was sort of the JFK incident of my parents' generation, where you kind of know exactly where you were and what you were doing when it happened. It's one of those things that you just never really forget. And then it was the first time too that it was nonstop coverage. This was before social media and seeing everything 24/7 on your phone. That's the only thing.
It was almost like when Kennedy got shot, everybody remembers where they were that day. And I remember I was working and I got the report that a plane crashed into the towers, and nobody thought it was terrorism right away. And then
the desperate pleas for answers, seeing the awful news footage. There was a lot of, I don't know how to put it. There was a lot of unknowing, and that unknowing hurt more than anything.
Bubble. Students today who were not around for 9/11 or who were too young to remember, as I say that it bursted our illusion of a safety bubble. It just completely erased any sense of we live in a safe, secure society or country, and this illusion of this perfect life just vanished.
Because then you'll get the orders all confused.
What do you remember or know about 9/11 and how has it impacted you?
I was not there when it happened, but growing up in elementary school, obviously on 9/11, I feel like they were always telling you surface level information about this is what happened and this is why it's a big deal.
What was your stance on the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and how has America's actions after 9/11 influenced ongoing conflicts today?
At the time, I think I, along with many other people, the majority of Americans, if I remember correctly, supported going into Afghanistan and Iraq because of the terrorists. Obviously, we're going after the Taliban, Al Qaeda, and then many of us thought Saddam Hussein was involved, and then as we realized that much later, he wasn't. I think we still felt justified going in after the Taliban to try to get rid of the terrorist organization, to try to liberate Afghanistan from them. But as we've seen, that did not work out so well.
Well, like everybody at the time, I was for the wars. We wanted to pay back for what happened to our people, and no one knew it was going to be such a long and drawn out war, and difficult to fight, and cost us a lot of soldiers got injured and lost their lives, and it just took too long, I think, and the country shifted against. And then when they got bin Laden, who was responsible for their attack, everybody felt like that was enough, I think, and it was good to get the troops out, but the way they did it, I think, showed the rest of the world weakness on our part.
Each time our country experiences national trauma, and I'm thinking back to when 9/11 happened, I thought that the way we saw race, the way we saw religion, difference, I thought it was going to change. Because for a brief moment, the only thing we thought about was we are Americans. And, the news made us feel like there was a whole country attacking us, when in actuality, it was just a handful of crazies who felt like they were doing the right thing for themselves.
I think it's really important to note that the United States caused a lot of what happened in Afghanistan by funding the terrorist organizations. I can't think of the name of the terrorist. What is it? I don't know. By funding them in the 80s. So we funded all of these groups in the 80s because there was a war against Russia in Afghanistan. So we reaped the consequences of that
war. So if I'm thinking about other wars that are happening and we're sending other military individuals to fight the wars, I think about what's going to happen with them, with their self, with their mental health, with their families, with their opportunities, any future that they have. It's not going to go, whatever they experience in war isn't going to go away when they come back, if they come back from the war.
As the leadership of the country changes, like going from Republican to Democrat. I think that when the Democrats got in, their following up on stuff was lackadaisical unless something presented itself to them where they could respond to it effectively. Example being Bin Laden being killed by the SEAL team during his presidency. And I think he tried to take a little more credit for it than was his due.
Today.
I feel like as someone who hasn't seeked out information about everything that happened like on my own, given just what I've learned from my education this far, I don't know about like truly anything that happened. I just know what happened on that day, and that we were blaming, like, obviously these people for doing what happened, but not about how we reacted to it or anything that we did after the fact.
Is the U.S. safer today, or could the government have done a better job in the aftermath of 9/11?
I know basically like the only thing that I know from that was improved after 9/11 was like TSA and airport security, which is great, but I don't know how or like what else was done to make our country safer.
9/11, the government did quite a bit to try to protect us, and it was good. But I think now that I don't think we're much safer with the policies we have now, and the open border, and the things that are going on. We don't know who's coming into the country. People on the terrorist list are coming in, and these countries have been against the U.S. forever, and they telling you they're going to kill U.S. They want the U.S. to die, and they want. So I think we're in a little bit of a dangerous situation now.
I don't think we're any more safe than we were before. And I think especially, and I hate to bring it to this, but the most recent presidencies have reminded us that our government is only concerned with.
And for the government to maybe try and make us feel safer after 9/11, to me, it felt like a lot of people were kind of throwing in the rag at that point, and instead there was a lot more intimate community building where smaller groups, smaller communities, neighborhoods, organizations were doing more of that let's feel safer. So even if it wasn't realistic, and even if we still weren't safer, we were still trying to support each other.
No, I don't. I think they did what they were supposed to. The government isn't safer today, but has, in my opinion, very little to do with 9/11. It has with our lack of enforcing our borders, allowing all these people coming in, that a lot of them involve criminals, and they are creating a problem here.
I think that some of the things that were done in the aftermath have had some long-term impact, like the Patriot Act, sounded great, but cost us some civil liberties that we're still trying to wrestle with. And as I said, it hasn't really stopped domestic terrorism, which is an ongoing issue, and it hasn't really stopped anything along the cyber terrorism. We've had many cyber terrorist attacks just within the last year alone. So I think in some ways, while we've been able to improve the safety in one area, there's still plenty of room for improvement to increase the safety.